I want to talk about special teams because I thought you asked a question that I was going to ask. You asked it in a little different way. And so here's how I was going to ask it of Mitch. So now I can ask it of you. Because the biggest conversation coming out of the game is the special teams, right? It's like they won, shout out to the win, but special teams is the biggest, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it is not wild. So now I guess I'm going to give you an opinion and you can respond to it. I do not think that it is wild to say that if they bring him back for 2025, it would be the first bit of goodwill that Matt Rule would lose with this place. I think that it has already reached a place where it is untenable to bring him back for another year.
Wow.
And look, I mean, I guess is the pushback they turn it around. And so maybe am I being wrong in thinking that it is impossible for them to turn it around? I don't think that they will turn it around in special teams. They're going to make some field goals. They're not going to go field goal list for the rest of the year. They'll make extra points. They'll down some punts. They won't give up, 5 kickoff returns for touchdowns. But I think that it has now reached a point where it would be untenable. And so I guess the question is is that wild to say? Because they were so bad. The whole operation is now bad.
Yeah, it is bad. And I said it during the Frost era. I'll say it here. I think how your special teams operation is a good barometer for the culture inside your football program. Because if that means you've got attention to detail, it's the overlooked part of football. It's become cliche now to say that special teams is overlooked because no one overlooks it.
Yeah.
But when it plays like it looks like it's being overlooked, I think that says bad things about the culture of your program. And I don't think Matt Rule wants it to be that way.
No
one wants it to be that way. But I think it is particularly galling for him right now, someone who is all about attention to detail, to see the stuff that's going on. And listen, we can talk about the long snaps all we want, but how about the first punt of the game?
Yeah.
Buschini sticks that thing like a 9-iron inside the 5-yard line.
Golf.
And you got people reacting to the return man who's doing the typical faking whatever. And the ball bounces like 5 yards away from anybody, and no one's around to get it. And Nebraska had it covered.
And you know what?
It almost looked like a fire drill out there.
How about the other one? Was it Ramir who was standing the wrong way, didn't know where the ball was, and then the ball bounces basically into his arms, and he's almost surprised by it?
Yeah.
It's it is.
It's those things too. It's the misfire against Illinois with the punt coverage. These are things. This is not just a long snapping issue.
No, it is. It is the entire operation. And dare I say, in the Frost era, at least we knew they didn't care about it, and that explained it. It's worse to care and to be this bad.
Yeah.
Because I think they do care. They have a coordinator. He's just not good. And that is inarguable. The numbers, everything backs it up. The numbers back it up. The eye test backs it up. It might have lost them the Illinois game. It did not lose them this game. But if you look at the numbers.
If they'd have played a bet. Okay, if they're playing Rutgers and they play like that, they're losing that game.
They're going to lose.
I don't care what the second half looked like. Because they'd have dug themselves too deep a hole.
We talked about it with K Ford a few weeks ago, but basically he told us that games around that 60% chance to win all the way down to the 30% chance to win. Those are one-score games. Okay, so let's look at numbers that fit inside that bandwidth. Rutgers, Indiana, I guess UCLA not so much, USC just outside of it, Wisconsin, Iowa. All of those games are going to be right in that bandwidth. And so there's a very real world where this costs them again. And so I think very quickly special teams, I think the conversation has gotten, it wasn't 0 miles per hour. It was already going pretty fast. But it's just been such a disappointment. And it very well could cost them games.
It's at the point where anytime Nebraska's special teams is on the field, you kind of grit your teeth and go, God, I hope.
Dude, every time they kicked the field goal, it was scary. It was frightening. And obviously they left many, many points out there on the field.
And even if you want to be the one to say, well, I think you're overreacting to the other stuff. It is just about the long snapper. That's why the field goal issues are happening. And yes, certainly the bad snaps have thrown off the entire operation. I don't disagree with that at all.
Oh, for sure.
But then here's my question.
Okay.
Who's in charge of finding long snappers?
Yeah, special teams.
Who's in charge of coaching long snappers?
Yeah. Dude, the visual of him being on the field with the band, and the twirlers right behind him, on Saturday.
The fact that a vast majority, sure, there's not everyone can be great at special teams. But the fact that this very simple part of the operation has gone so poorly, and you don't see this at a lot of other places, is a giant red flag. So whether it is in the identifying and finding the right people or in the coaching, it's wrong. It's obviously wrong.
We have seen the defense and more games to come, right? And because they did not play very well versus Illinois, but we know that the defensive side of the ball it's a buttoned up operation and they do really good things. We have seen massive improvement on offense. And look, does a lot of the credit go to one player? Absolutely it does. But we have seen big time improvements from that side of the ball. Special teams they have not even stood pat. They've gotten exponentially worse. They are way worse at special teams right now than they were a year ago. Way worse. And so I think that's where the conversation is reached. 5 games into year 2. And and again, I'm talking about trust. I'm talking about people trusting what you're doing. And I think that would be one of the first things where people would say, they do the whole buddy thing. Mm-hmm. They do the whole, he's keeping him because he's a buddy. I think, we've seen that around here so many times. You don't want that to be the conversation.
Lee wants to know, so John, do you think the culture there is still bad? No, I don't.
Where does that come from?
Well, because I said that special teams is a barometer for your overall health and culture.
Okay, so that must be why Not Horberg says so the whole program is a bleep show.
No.
Of course it's not.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but to me, and that's why I think, and that's why I agree with what Josh said, that, hey, if this continues in this way, a change will be made. Because I can't envision Matt Rule tolerating this type of incompetence for this long.
It wouldn't fit his MO.
No.
That would be the surprise.
No, it would not at all.
Yeah, that would be the surprise.
It would not at all. Is this going to be about what I said earlier?
I don't know.
Explosive
I hope
plays?
he yells at you. That'd be awesome.
Michael Severe.
No, that's not what I'm calling about. I do every single, usually midday Sunday after the Saints have lost. I then turn back to college football and I go back and I watch like all the highlight packages from probably 15, 20 teams. I have never seen this many missed field goals across the country. I'm not defending Nebraska. I'm not. But the field goal kicking right now in FBS is brutal. Brutal. Penn State has, I think they're 2 for 6 or something like that. There's a bunch of teams that are underwater in terms of made to attempted. It's just really bad right now, and it's weird because it's so great in the NFL. It makes zero sense. But go on any of the sites and look them up and see how many teams are below 60% in kicking field goals this year. It's ridiculous.
I'm on CFB stats right now.
Yeah.
60% is right now 104. So 104th place. Well, and there's actually a tie there. So it starts with Louisville at 110 is at 57%. So on the way. So that's what? 25 teams. 25 teams are 60% or below. And there are about a dozen teams, including Nebraska, who are below 50% right now in field goals.
Honestly, you'd have to say nowadays you would expect in college football for the average kicker to hit about 75%, right? 3 or 4?
You would think.
Would you say that? You'd say that. Look at Washington against Rutgers.
He was horrible. He was horrible.
It cost them the game.
Yeah, dude.
He looked scared. That kicker looked scared every time he went out there.
Yeah, especially the last time he went out there. You could see it in his
Dude, he had
eyes.
to run back over to do that when they called the timeout to ice him. He ran. I've never seen a kicker run over to get one extra kick in.
He went to go get one practice kick in. But there's something about it. I don't know what's going on with And maybe, because things do change as the season goes along, maybe it's an early part of the season still. In the second half, teams will rally. It's like I was telling you when I texted you, we're getting no kickoff and punt returns right now for touchdowns. Yep. That's not normal. We're 15 under the rate from last year. Something is going on with special teams across the country. It's just not playing as well or being coached as well, or maybe teams are not putting as many starters on there. I don't know, but it's not like it used to be.
I would be curious. I'd be curious to know from California, who is at 124, on down to Southern Miss, who's last in field goal percentage. How many of these have as many short misses as Nebraska?
That'd be interesting.
Because, I mean, all Nebraska's misses have been inside of 40, right?
Yep.
How many of these teams don't have winning records, John? A lot of them, don't they?
Cal does. Nebraska does.
State, Syracuse, Nebraska.
Georgia Tech, Penn State, Auburn.
There's Rutgers at UCF. There's a lot. Minnesota. A lot of these teams have winning records.
Yeah.
But they're horrible at kicking field goal.
That's crazy.
And even the net punting numbers, I was just looking at those on Friday when I was comparing the two teams, and those are down too. It's an epidemic of bad special teams. I don't know how much it has to do with culture, like you were referencing, but it does have something to do with how much time you have to spend preparing for these much more complicated offenses now with your defense, and maybe that cuts into some of the practice time because the offenses are so much more complicated now with so many different things they're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the issue. I don't know.
Could be. All right.
It's a theory.
All right. Remind me to help fix your computer on Saturday.
Please, I will. I will bring it to you first thing.
Michael has, I believe, the same issue that this computer had.
Oh.
Because if you listen to Severe Reaction, you'll play the sound bites. It's got the little echo in it.
Oh, yeah, Michael, he got it fixed. Shout out, John. Look at technology, John, getting things done.
I'm good at technology.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He is good. Look, I couldn't figure out the way to silence the crowd mic, and I messed it up, and I went to him. We figured it out. No, John's very good with the computers. I'm fine with that.
Wow.
There you go.
He's very good.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to explosive plays, he's...
That's Matt Rule's fault. I was listening to the coach. Matt Rule fighting for Nebraska. All right. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Michael Severe.
Interesting. Where was the comment? Starsfiend, this is turning into a Jimmy Allen conspiracy. I would say this. So let's say Michael's right on the lack of practice time that other schools are, like everyone's doing it. Man, wouldn't that be an edge that you can find by actually putting more time into it? And I know that the other phases you're on the field more, but it's like, if that's what the issue is, it's like, then just practice it a little bit more.
See, that's
because you can make huge gains.
And this is,
I don't think that's what it is.
This is why I would push back a little bit. We've got more damn coaches now available to these kids than ever before.
Sure.
Because now every analyst gets to coach on the field. Yeah. You've got these staffs are bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. Pretty soon we talk about how, hey, we got a great classroom experience because we have, 8 students for every teacher. And that's better than the other school. They have 15 students for every teacher. We're getting to the point now where we've got 6 players for every coach.
It really, yeah. You're getting a lot of coaches.
So, I mean, maybe there's too much coaching.